Review of Nick Wallis' Depp v. Heard, The Unreal Story, Hollywood's Dread and Loathing. After dissolving their tumultuous, inebriated marriage, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard kindly gave us two legal epilogues. Depp initially sued the Sun for branding him a wife-beater, but the judge in London rejected his case after accepting Heard's description of his violence. A jury in the U.S. eventually awarded him $15 million in damages after he sued Heard for slander. Following Depp's legal battles with Heard in both courts, Nick Wallis, the journalist best known for revealing the dishonorable prosecution of postmasters who accepted responsibility for a malfunctioning computer system, has now written up the incident as a modern moral fable. Wallis describes his account as an unreal story because its astral protagonists have long since lost touch with the reality that keeps the rest of us connected to the mundane earth. His book, which draws grand conclusions from minutiae, depicts the conflict between two alternative universes, terraformed by subpoenas, depositions, and witness statements in which truth has become entirely subjective and relative. Depp and Heard got along well and had a nice romance. He auditioned her for the Rum Diary and loved the impression her posterior left on his sofa so much that he wouldn't let anybody else use it for the rest of the day. She expressed her gratitude by saying that he made her feel like $1 million. Nevertheless, this terrible figure of speech led to her being accused of being a gold digger later on. After becoming together, Johnny and Amber gave themselves the nicknames Steve and Slim in tribute to the figures Bogart and Bacall portrayed into Have and Have Not, albeit they were unable to match their models' witty banter. In the movie directed by Howard Hawks, Bacall slyly demonstrates to Bogart how to whistle, "You just put your lips together and blow." Heard and Depp, who are both narcissists to an extreme, invented a variation during their foul-mouthed argument and recorded it on their phones. She challenged him by telling him to suck my dick after telling him to suck his own. "Suck my dick, or yours?" he inquired, sounding perplexed by a sentence spoken during a practice. Wallis protects us from Heard discovered that the stylish Depp, who was so skilled at portraying a courtly southern gent, secretly harbored an obscenity-filled thug he dubbed the monster inside of him. He traveled with a team of security personnel whose job it was to keep him safe from this internal Mr. Hyde. He also hired a nurse to act as his sobriety coach, though not very successfully. He allegedly kicked Heard, broke her nose, and raped her with a bottle that substituted for his deflated penis while downing prescription medications, cocaine, and gulp shots of vodka. He urinated over the rugs and walls in whichever room, for want of any other climax. He just so happened to be living in a posh complex. His actions as Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean appear relatively subdued in comparison to this maniacal mayhem. Nevertheless, Depp slyly won over the American jurors, who ruled against Heard because she didn't cry appropriately during her testimony. Her case was weakened by further inauthenticity evidence. She stole the traumas of a confidante and claimed ownership of them. An essay on abuse that purported to be horrifying was produced for her by a worker at the American Civil Liberties Union in time to coincide with the promotion of her movie. Even the blood from her broken nose had been covered up with nail polish, and the dog feces that Depp claimed she had personally dumped in his bed had actually been found elsewhere. One of Depp's followers, who referred to Heard as Amber Turd after the event, showed up at court dressed as a feces Heard wearing a revealing copper-brown top, a dark chocolate-colored taffeta skirt, a blonde wig, and a poo emoji hat. Some people called her a scum whore or expressed the wish that she would die from an overdose in anonymous posts on social media. Celebrities take on the extra feelings we are unable to express in our daily life. While Depp unjustly absorbed the love, Heard monopolized the hate. The frazzled American judge said that the courtroom in this particular case seemed to be the entire planet. Some of the worst individuals in the world slither through Wallis' book as evidence. Depp was furious when Heard started dating Elon Musk after their divorce and dubbed his replacement Mollusk, asked if he had a pair, and threatened to slice off his dick. A lawyer who also represents Sergei Lavrov, Putin's scowling representative, arranged Depp's defense, and among the shills who handled his public relations was a person hired from Trump's White House. It's interesting to note that a website dedicated to spreading Trump propaganda spent at least $35,000 promoting pro-Depp, anti-Heard content on Facebook and Instagram. The connection makes sense because both Trump and Depp represent rabid, merciless ID. Too recently for Wallis to have noticed, there was another walk-on. In March, Sarah Vine gushed in the Daily Mail that Boris Johnson was a charming rogue and the Captain Jack Sparrow of British politics the morning after he blustered through a Privileges Committee inquiry. Yes, our Prime Minister was a pirate for a period. With the aid of this additional ensemble of criminals, Wallis transforms the fight between Depp and Heard into a representation of the violent, wasteful times in which we find ourselves.